Hey, everybody, welcome to the Witching Hour. I am Patti Negri, your host for this travel beyond the veil where magic happens. I have a great guest for you today. We get to know him together. He is a witch, he is an author, he is a tarot expert, the one and only Raven Digitalis. Welcome, Raven.
Hey, so nice to be here. It's great to see you. Um,
Thank
I've
you.
seen you on TV before, of course. It's wonderful. I don't even know how to turn on a TV, but I've seen other people watching you, like my mom.
Oh,
She
good.
loves the work that you do, and I've gotten to sneak in and see you throughout the last couple of years here and there. You do great work. I love it.
Oh,
So
that's good. Thank you so much. I watch TV. I don't know how to watch TV anymore. With all the different stations and streaming, it's like a mystery to figure out what channel or what app or what streaming network it's on. So
mhm.
I need help with that one. So thank you for that. That is very kind. Well, I'm thrilled because you are quite the prolific author. You have like 11 different books out. And we're certainly going to talk about your newest one because Shadow Magic Spellbook. It seems like at the beginning of the year, this is a good time for shadow work. I know this is one of your specialties. So if anybody doesn't quite know you, like, tell us a little bit about your path. How did you find this magical path? Were you born into it?
No, my parents, and they are wonderful parents. Do gratitude prayers for them every day. I have really great family and friends and just so grateful. And I just hope to uh, do the best with what I have and help make the world a better. That's my whole thing. Make the world a better place however I can, any means necessary, little steps, however it can echo out. And my books and my tarot consultations and spell kit services, things like that, that all helps along the way. I did co-operate a nonprofit pagan temple for 16 years. I folks with disabilities for 15 years alongside that and alongside writing and tarot. Um, and now I'm in a place where I can focus more on the writing career and the divination career. And I first realized that I was a witch and pagan back when I was a teenager. Like, of course, films like The Craft and Practical Magic were like, hey, here's a little bit of reality spun with some fantasy and fun. And I was like, hey, I really identify with that. And then it was just this huge rabbit hole from there. And in the late 90s, I had the pleasure of training in Georgian witchcraft, a tradition that was started in California uh, with the founding priestess, Zanoni Silverknife. And that was my first introduction was through Wicca. And even though I don't consider myself Wiccan, of course, I celebrate the Wiccan Sabbats. And um, I just love the progression of magical culture and that we can respectfully take what resonates with us and put that into practice and philosophy these days.
I love that. And it's a good time, and we're doing really well with witchcraft and paganism. I do think, me too. I started out with Wicca. Wicca is like the entry drug to magic and the occult and witchcraft. So that is beautiful. Now, for anybody to know, we have a lot of new people in shadow work we know going inside. What exactly is shadow magic?
Mm. So when we first think about shadow magic and shadow work in general, we think about, the Jungian concept of the shadow self. So Carl Jung, Swiss psychiatrist, was the first to really recognize, be a proponent of the shadow self, especially in psychotherapy. He was also very metaphysical, and we know that he's very dream oriented, unconscious oriented. Um, Carl Jung also talked a lot about synchronicity and things that we would consider metaphysical and very spiritual these days, which is impressive for a scientist.
Yes.
Um, so Carl Jung's interpretation of the shadow self is just incredible and spot on. So that refers to the things that we have buried inside in our unconscious minds that we don't like to recognize, or that are under the radar for the sake of survival a lot of the time, so that we can compartmentalize and function in life. Like, for example, if we've experienced extreme trauma in the past, oftentimes the mind will compartmentalize those, push those things away so that we can carry on and keep living and surviving and existing and thriving in life. So, shadow work in the internal sense, in the Jungian sense, is all about looking within, doing the work within. And when it comes to the magical aspect, it's about usually in conjunction with psychotherapy. Because I'm a huge proponent of that. Therapy probably saved my life, for
Mm.
example, many others, and
Yes.
just to intentionally create magic and spellcraft and meditations safely, sometimes with the guidance of another person. Um, Everybody's different. So everybody's approach to shadow work is different. And in my Shadow Magic Spellbook, the new book that I was guided to create, there are these are almost all of them are solitary spells and rituals. And the subtitle says for positive change. I thought that was very important so that people don't go there thinking, oh, I'm going to find a bunch of curses. And
Yes.
there are alternatives for that that are karmically clean. Um, in there, a couple here and there. But the most important thing about shadow work, and that's why the first chapter is about internal shadow magic, so that we can have a grounding in ourselves and a basis in ourselves and the self awareness, so that we know what we're doing, what we're working with. And the thing is that shadow work and shadow magic, it's especially the internal type, it's not an immediate uh, thing. You don't get immediate results. It's a lifelong process. And
Right.
one thing that really fascinates me is that when I was studying some of Carl Jung's work, is that it's not just bad stuff that's in there in the unconscious shadow. It's also our creative potential that we might repress for various reasons, and very positive things. So it really is a mix, but it does come down to the unconscious. So in Shadow Magic Spellbook, I have 4 chapters, again, 144. I didn't think I see it. I don't think I said this yes, but there's 144 spells. That's what I
Wow.
create. 7 of them are guest spells. The first chapter is internal shadow magic, internal shadow workings. The second chapter is interpersonal, how we deal with other people and function in life. And the third chapter is about nature's shadow, which includes things like dusk and liminal times like eclipses, dark moons, full moons, uh,
Mm.
and how we connect with the shadow of nature. And then the final chapter is about the other world, which I know that you could resonate with. So, the section that includes ancestor work, working with spirits, dreaming, and those kind of unconscious levels.
That is beautiful, and I do love that you have a positive change because I do think the word shadow still frightens people, whether it's the unknown or it's those dark inside you don't want to look at. Um, so it can be intense. Do your book stay away show people how they can do it safely and responsibly, working with themselves?
Yeah, that was a big priority when I was writing that, because I want people to be safe and comfortable and approach things, from their own terms, on their own terms, and uh, also comfortably push their limits a little bit, get a little uncomfortable. There are some things in there that are a little uncomfortable, and not every spell is going to be for everyone. What I like about the book is that one can hop around and jump around and be like, oh, you know what? This spell or this ritual or this charm is something that I could really benefit from right now. You don't have to do them all. I don't
Right.
recommend it. And
Right.
actually, one thing that I,
No, I just got it. It's not really, and I'm excited to read it because I do like working with spells and rituals and charms, as you say, to give you some tangibility to not I'm just gonna go inside and look at all my dark spots. So I'm excited to see what you have what you have created. What is the first step if somebody wants to be aware of this in their life, or just like we don't even have to go right to shadow work. If somebody is going, okay, I want to be more aware. I like this world. The world's crazy right now. I like this magical world of things because we could talk about all your other books and things. Um, what do you think the first step is for someone to step into a more magical path, whatever that means to them?
I would say that the first step is to be just honest with ourselves.
Mm.
And we don't want to use magic or incorporate spiritual things for the purpose of escapism. We want part of shadow work is deeply engaging and honestly engaging with reality, whether that's our own inner landscape, recognizing the shadows of others and our interplay with that. And again, the shadow of nature, and then the other dimensions that we're coexisting with. So, honesty, like literal humble honesty, is a good step. And, that takes courage for sure, and bravery, and also self respect, because we don't want to go into magic or shadow work thinking that we're damaged goods, or um, like we're broken or something like that. It's about empowerment, but and not about power over others. It's about power over the dark self when it comes to shadow work and really magic in general. Personally, I vibe with Hinduism and Hindu philosophy quite a bit, as well as Buddhist philosophy. I actually studied Buddhism before Hinduism and was a teacher's assistant in college for their Buddhism, and learned so much. And then after that, got more deeply into Shakta and Shaiva Hinduism. So Ganesha and uh, Shakti and Shiva are my homies. But because I feel like those deities and the philosophy of these um, ancient cultures are, and including Taoism too. I love Taoism. They're very gentle and realistic at the same time. And sometimes with modern witchcraft, I feel like there's a missing link between the East and the West, because I don't feel like there's enough of an emphasis on um, the psychological aspects. Um, So that's where I kind of find my place, is balancing the Eastern and Western mysticism, really.
I love that actually. I don't know enough as I'd like to as about the Eastern, but I study it as well. And I do also love how you combine spirituality and belief systems with psychology. It is like modern witchcraft or practice meets psychology. And how they complement each other. So that makes me very happy as well. So, what do you think that people most avoid in maybe you let's go back to shadow work for a second, in looking at their darker side. Is there a certain area that they avoid more than others, or it depends on their personal trauma or
Right. I think that if anything is avoided more than anything, it's how we interact with others. And when we're projecting our own shadow and unconscious things and assuming things about other people or situations that may or may not be true. And I think it's really important. That's where mindfulness comes into play, where we can take a step back and be like, am I looking at this realistically, or am I looking at this through a lens of like a self-defeating lens, you know? Or it's like not everybody's out to get us. And so that big part of shadow work is to realize, okay, not everyone's out to get us. We're not broken. And yet we're still working with shadow and light every day of our lives, including in our dreams. So we can't escape it. It's like,
yeah. So speaking of shadow and light and every single day, we're at a brand new year. It's early January 2026. And we must say, without getting into politics, the last few years have been tough for many of us within the world, within our country. And there is a lot of fear and there's a lot of anger and there's a lot of judgment and stuff. How do you think, like, your work or your awarenesses can really help us get through with these kind of difficult times we're going through?
I feel like education is the best possible thing that we can do, I see online and at protests and various interactions with those who are more close-minded. I see a lot of anger from both sides, and I think that can be diffused by listening and asking questions, and especially by trying to empathize or at least sympathize with the viewpoints of others, even if we know that they're misinformed a lot of the time. We can be like, okay, so what do you feel about this? Because this is my take. This is what I've learned. So can we take a step back together and kind of look at this? And it doesn't have to be a manipulative thing. It shouldn't be. It's more like helping each other think and process and learn from each other. Of course, when it comes to extreme hatred and division and prejudice, then that's somewhere I don't like to tread, especially as an empath and having written books about empathy and the empath's oracle deck and studying it. I need to, many of the listeners too, and probably yourself, need to, pick and choose wisely our interactions.
Yes.
So, like, I have some conservative family members that I'm happy to chat with, but I'm not going to take this high horse position of, what, let me tell you this, let me tell you what. It's more like, I'll ask more questions. What have you heard? What's your perspective on this? Oh, okay, this is how I feel. This is what I've learned. Let's compare what we've learned. So,
Yeah, I think that, and the world definitely needs more of that, which is communication, which is not where everything's turned into a competing team baseball game or football game. You're red or you're blue, you're this or you're that. There's no listening middle ground. So I think that is a beautiful way. So again, you're also a tarot expert and you've also got decks out. Tell us about some of the other books that you have out. We're not done talking about this quite yet, because I would love to get like an example of a simple what like a ritual or a spell that somebody could do.
yeah, so Shadow Magic Spellbook comes out March 8th, 2026.
Oh, wow. So we're early. I love this. You guys can't get this yet.
Pre order it.
Yeah, pre-order it. That's really good for him as an author. Pre-order it now. And then you'll have a surprise in a couple months when it comes out. March is around the corner. It's already January. So yeah, but tell us about what some of your other books.
Well, first, let's do a little bibliomancy. I'm getting called to do a little bibliomancy. So I'm going to open Shadow Magic Spellbook and see what spell pops up. Okay, working with sadness. Working with sadness. Sadness, part of existing as a conscious being, and is an indication that we are capable of feeling and experiencing life itself. There's no quick fix for sadness, and there's not a spell in the world that's a cure-all. This spell and others similar can, however, become part of the process of working with this particular aspect of the internal shadow. Okay, so this is the internal shadow chat. Um, so I go on to discuss what the dark night of the soul is,
Mhm.
and um, give some examples of that navigation that many of us sensitive people experience. And then it's basically an herbal and candle spell, um, for focusing on sadness and releasing. But the thing with that I'm a huge proponent of, okay, one, in the book, I say, modify these spells, don't do any of them by the book, exactly as they're. I don't see that in many spell books. I'm like, modify it, tailor it, make it your own. Don't do it exactly how I've written it. And that's where so much power lies. And then number two, when we do releasing work, whether it's magic, psychological, same thing, we need to invite the opposite in. So we want to fill the void of what we release. And that's why I'm such a proponent when it comes to empathy and shadow work of aligning with the lunar cycle. And that's something I learned in my Hawaii also, because I lived there for 3.5 years recently. I'm now back in Montana, my home state. Is that when I was there, you know, it being an island culture, there with the Sabbaths, with the shifts of the season, there's not much of a change. So I was like, I'm gonna hone in on the lunar aspect like Pacific Islanders do and such. And that actually informed a lot of the work. And as for my other books, I'll introduce my two Oracle decks first, which I'm
Yes.
so happy about because I got to collaborate with two of my favorite artists in the world. First one is the Empaths Oracle, a collaboration with Konstantin Bax in Germany. It's all acrylic, and I created this in Hawaii, co-created it in Hawaii. And then the other one,
Beautiful.
thank you. The other one is the newer Gothic Witches Oracle. So this is for folks that, you know, have a more dark inclination, but want to do good in the world and help heal themselves. This is a collaboration with John Santorneros, and a photographic artist from New York.
Oh, those are beautiful. Yes. Uh, Maybe before we get in, you could pull a card or two and do a light little reading for everybody for the new year. I would love that.
Yeah, me too. And yeah, I'm most known for shadow work books and empathy books. So when it comes to my empathy series, I've got all my books here to show them off. The first
Yes.
the first one I made was esoteric empathy. This took 6 years to write off and on. It is jam packed. There's even a quote from Raymond Buckland on the cover, who
Wow.
was a friendly acquaintance of mine. It may have been the last endorsement quote that he gave before he passed away. What a
Wow.
soul, such an inspiring person. He loved it.
Yes.
I'm honored by that. The next one I created was the Everyday Empath, which is not witchy. It's more for everybody who's spiritual,
Good.
the smaller one. And this got translated into audiobook and into Spanish, which I'm really happy about.
Beautiful.
Then, in addition to the Empath's Oracle deck, the latest one is this very, very mini book on moon books in London called, it's part of their Pagan Portals series. It's called Magic for Empaths. And my buddy Jake Cobran did the cover art for that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so it's just got like a mini guidebook. And then when it comes to the Shadow series with Cross Crow books, I got my first ever hardcover. This is the Seal for the Moon, like I was mentioning, the lunar aspect when it comes to shadow work. Um, Originally, my first kind of dark book, my first book that I ever published was Gothcraft, the magical side of dark culture.
Oh,
Back,
that's beautiful. All these books I'm gonna have to get. Yeah.
out of print now, but I can, a couple copies, I can get one to you. Uh, and this is not something I would write at the moment. This is from 2007, but people really seem to love it. So then I printed Shadow Magic Compendium, which is now out of print and has been revised and expanded into the hardcover that I mentioned.
Oh, here's
Softback version is called a Witch's Shadow Magic Compendium now, revised, expanded, 15th anniversary edition on Crossed Crow Books in Chicago. So this is the second favorite book I've written. Esoteric Empathy is my favorite book I've written. And I think the new Shadow Magic Spellbook is coming in third at the moment.
oh, that is amazing. I don't know how you find time to do so many books.
There,
And you have a regular practice. You work with people tarot, you do readings, you have a clientele.
right. Yeah. It's one of those things. I'm so grateful that none of my three publishers put deadline pressure on me or make me write a series of books in X amount of time. Instead, it's more like when it comes. And so they really support the creative process. And it's so funny because every time, and this has happened for the last 5 publications, is that right when I think I'm all done and I've expressed everything that I could and my work is done, I'm done writing, then it's like, oh, something else comes in. It's like frequency, just like, artists and creatives. I'm sure you can relate. Is another thing. It's just like, hey, I want to come manifest.
You must be very disciplined. I think that it is beautiful.
And
So I'm sure you've seen, again, working with people, private clients and writing the books, you've seen some amazing transformations in people doing this kind of work. Um,
what makes it all worth it? Just the feedback is incredible, and that keeps me going. Um, you know, that it really is what I set out to do. And then those things are so reassuring for hearing from people, whether it's tarot clients. And if anybody's curious, get reading with me at ravendigitalis.com. I've got a scheduler on there. Whether it's from tarot clients or from book readers, when people express that I've really helped them in their lives, it there's something that is so magical about that's incomparable and
That's
such an
That is beautiful. You guys check him out. On the new book, Kristen, again, shadow work, very popular, much needed right now as we're going on. What inspired you to make it such an active, like a spell book, as compared to here's just another story or a workbook? I just love that. Again, that it's active to just,
it is very practical and active, and I think that it's huge to do the work. And that's because there's 144 spells in there. There
Mhm.
which are meant to be modified to one's preference. They're approachable, they're doable. And unlike my first spell book, which is called Planetary Spells and Rituals, this was the third book I published with Llewellyn. Um, this one is divided by the planets. There's a tab for,
Wow.
and all of these spells are way more in depth than the Shadow Magic Spellbook's spells. They're like big ass ritual procedures. I mean, to varying degrees. And people seem to love that book, but I was really guided to write one that was more like, here's a quick spell, incorporate this in your greater work. Here's another one. Here's another one. And with each spell, it's not like I'll say, here's a spell for working with social anxiety and then be like, do this, do this, do this. No, I lead in with everyone with an intro and be like, okay, have you considered this? And XYZ, here's different aspects of it. Okay, now that we've reflected on it, here's one thing you can do. You know,
I love that. And again, I'm a proponent of simplicity and ease. That's just because, but we're all going to be different. Now let's go back to time. I like that you're lunar. I live in California. We don't have season either, as far as which winter or summer, kind of like Hawaii, where you do now. But um, now we are in January, whatever your weather is, wherever. Is this it seems to me like in the craft, we're going inside. This is the dark time of the year. So this is be a good time to do this kind of work.
yeah, and the winter solstice at Yuletide, Christmas, the sun is reborn. SON, SUN, whatever. That's
Yes.
when it starts to wax again. And so it's a great time for rebirth and doing positive, proactive, progressive shadow work. Excellent time of year for that. So I'm really happy that the book's really synchronized with the season like that in the northern hemisphere, especially.
Yeah. That is beautiful. So, okay, let's pull out some cards because I want to have time to do that. Let's see your work. So you decide what we want to do. Do you want to do a New Year's thing for however you want to do it for general for all of our people watching and listening out there?
No, I'd like to draw a card from each of my decks. And mind you, I don't read with this deck. I only read with the Toth Tarot deck when it comes to actual tarot readings with
Okay.
clients. These are more for inspiration and for little things like this. So let's see what the audience and ourselves need. Okay, from a Gothic Witch's Oracle, let me show it off here. We've got the card called Modifying the Body. So this card encourages listeners to think about different body modifications, whether it's piercings, tattoos, if we have surgery, whether it's medical or cosmetic, any makeup, doing things like that, any way of modifying the body and thinking about the magical implications of that, what it means on a spiritual level is what that card is all about. So it'll mean something different to everybody. And that's kind of the
It's
diversity of that deck.
a good
So
way to start the year. Yeah.
yeah, just like think about the physical body, how we present ourselves to others. And um, yeah, it's all fascinating. So I'm going to pull one now from my Empath's Oracle deck, which just exceeded 10,000 copies in sales. I'm so happy about that because it's reaching a lot of folks and helping them in their lives. Okay, let's see what card. Ooh, here's a good one that's really good for the new year. Manifesting the future.
Mhm.
So again, this is all acrylic. There's no digital modification in either of my decks, aside from a few like color and hue changes. Um, So manifesting the future, think about, well, New Year's resolutions, which are more like, I think they're more like springtime resolutions. But what we're looking forward to rather than feeling like we're victimized by our past or that we're caught in our past or defined by our past. This is all about looking into the future and thinking, making lists, making goals. That's something I've started doing, it, making lists like on paper, being like, check off list. And then even things like vision boards can, I talk about vision boards as magical tools for spellcraft and such in this book, in my mini Magic for Empaths book. So things like that can be very helpful in seeing where we're going and aligning with our higher potentials.
That's
Great.
beautiful. So this looks like a good reading so far. We're going to manifest our future and perhaps modify a bit if needed. Ha!
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. Um, okay, so what would be a thing again, because you're very active with rituals and charms and thing. What if somebody again is just kind of going, I want to go or look into this world a little bit. So you're gonna read and get these beautiful books. Do you have a like one either a daily ritual or a thought pattern or awareness that you could suggest for somebody just to work into this world?
Yeah, that's one thing I'm a big proponent of. So in my empathy books and I guess also in my shadow work books, both of the shadow magic books. Um, and actually, I think in both of the card decks, come to think of it, the Oracle decks, I emphasize the importance of daily practice. And that looks different for everybody. Like for me, at least for now, and this will change and has changed. Um, I'll wake up, connect with the elements outside, do some breathing, take a shower, do gratitude prayers to certain guides, gods, guardians, and do some physical yoga and then a little bit of meditation. And of course, this can be modified depending on the time and the season and the lunar cycle. So daily practice is great. And it reminds me of one thing that one Hindu guru told the audience when I was at a talk, which is that this was 6, 7 years ago. He said that um, the like social interactions and things on this plane can be seen as horizontal, whereas the interaction with the other world with the higher powers and such can be seen as vertical. And so we're going for that nice balance in between the horizontal and the vertical, where we intentionally connect with um, God, the gods, with our higher selves, with the guardians and nature, and set time aside just to connect to those higher forces to help integrate those into our lives, in addition to, and that will inform our lives socially and working in the world. So I think about that advice a lot.
I think that's beautiful. I haven't thought about it like that because it's true that interactions, higher vibration, lower vibration, and how we are on timeline this way, which kind of puts you at the crossroads, which is powerful in itself. So I like that. I'm going to borrow that. I'll give you full credit.
Oh, that's a good point, because we are in a linear seeming reality, aren't we?
Seeming. Yeah.
With the higher powers, that is out of kind of our time space a lot, or space time a lot of the time. So
That's fascinating. Well, you guys, this it's gonna be out in 2 months. Check out this Shadow Magic Spellbook. It is well worth the wait. I'm excited. Every page oh, and I was gonna jump in, but for those of you who go, "What is bibliomancy?" Which is one of my favorite things. Bibliomancy is literally when you're asking the universe, the gods, your whoever, "What do I need to know today?" And you open a book, and that's what you need to know today. It's a great way of divination. It's a great way of getting information. So if anybody goes, "Wait, what was that?" That's all that is.
yeah, and it's similar to drawing an oracle card.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's stepping into it. Um, so tell people where they can find you, where they on social media, again, your website, where they can book you for sessions, private sessions.
Yeah, so it's Raven like the bird, and then Digitalis like the foxglove plant. That's the Latin name for foxglove. That's my power animal and power plant. Um, My birth name is Colin, but most people call me Raven. So Raven Digitalis, one word, .com. That's where you can find me. Look at the scheduler on there. Set up a session with me. Got some good openings this new year, so jump in. It's going to get filling up soon, and you'll see all the services I provide on there too, including spell kit, customized spell kit services. I don't cast magic for anybody, but I give them and mail them the tools and a printed out ceremony on parchment paper uh, to perform themselves and give them ideal times of when to perform them, etc. And then all my books are listed on my website, and you can just click on services to see about that. And then also Reiki services. And social media, I'm just at the same name, Raven Digitalis, one word, lowercase. And on YouTube under Crestfallen Raven, which I created like back in 2000 or something.
Crestfallen Raven. Okay, you guys like him, follow him, get his books, get his decks.
He'll be great.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing your beautiful magic. I will have to have you back again after the book comes out, and we could talk about it even some more. So I would love that. Any final words for anybody to take into this new year for us?
Well, if I had any advice for the new year and the year going forward, I think protecting ourselves is most important. That's what I'm getting. And so when we protect ourselves magically, whether it's through pendants, visualization, prayer, elemental work, working with our guides and ancestors, when we do intentional magical protective practices, we actually work that on a psychological level because magic and psychology go hand in hand. And it also helps influence how we interact with others, be it on social media or in the world in general, at work, with family, friends, whatever. When we intentionally set out to do protective practices, that echoes forth and carries over. And then another thing that's really coming to me is just love yourself, be honest, humble with yourself, and kind to yourself. Everybody who's listening is mystically inclined, and we have various purposes here in this world. We don't have to know exactly what they are. There is no one definitive answer in our life's path because everything's evolution. It's always changing. So we need to go with our callings, go with our talents, and be guided with love and kindness to ourselves first and foremost, and then to the world. So happy 2026.
That is absolutely beautiful. Truer words never said. Thank you so much, Raven, for
Oh,
bringing your magic to the witching
yeah.
hour.
Thank you so much. It's just been wonderful to chat, and I can't wait till next time.
I know.
We'll keep up the great work.